Hi everyone. In today's video, I wanted to share with you the pros and cons of a Dazzle Dry nail polish system. Quick background, I've been a nail tech for over 20 years and I used to specialize in gels, like a very natural looking gels, and then I transitioned into natural nail care, which I really enjoy. So I started using Dazzle Dry over, I think 3 years ago. So I have quite a lot of experience with it. It's a great system, but it's really important to understand the pros and cons if you're buying it. Okay, we are going to start with the pros. The good stuff. All right, so number one is the 5-minute drying time. And I've tried everything on the market, almost. Nothing compares to the Dazzle Dry system. Really, seche vite, all that stuff, it does not compare. So in 5 minutes, the polish is completely dry. For pedicures, I still give clients about 10 minutes. So what I do is I apply nail polish, and then I do the foot massage. After that, the clients, all of them, can put their shoes on, like the running shoes, whatever they're wearing, they can put it on and they don't have any dents, nothing. This is unheard of. It's unbelievable, right? So 5 minutes on the hands, I give it 10 minutes on the feet. So that's amazing. Number two, Dazzle Dry does not yellow the nails. I haven't had anyone with any yellowing of the nails. Now, this can be important for some people, and for some people it might not be that important. It is important to me because I like very sheer nail polishes, I like clear nail polish. So personally, I don't like the yellowing. And why is it so different? The reason why Dazzle Dry does not yellow the nails, it's because it's nitrocellulose free. I'm going to link a very good article written by the owner and the creator of Dazzle Dry, Dr. Vivian Valenti. And she explains why the nitrocellulose in the nail polish causes yellowing. So there's nothing really wrong or dangerous about nitrocellulose. It's just that nitrocellulose, when it's exposed to water, it breaks down, it degrades, it breaks down, which creates, it breaks down to nitric acid. And nitric acid can be oxidizing. So what happens is the nail plate is made of keratin, and keratin turns yellow. And even some older bottles of nail polish, you can see that they're yellowing as well when they contain nitrocellulose. And nitrocellulose is a very popular ingredient. It's in all the nail polishes out there other than Dazzle Dry, some other base coats, some other top coats, but usually the actual nail polish, all the other brands have nitrocellulose. It's a film forming ingredient. It's a very good film forming ingredient. So it creates that layer of the nail polish after the solvents evaporate, but Dazzle Dry doesn't have it, and this is the reason why it doesn't turn the nails yellow. Number three, I did find Dazzle Dry to be more gentle on the nails, and I like to call it more gentle. I don't want to say that it never causes any surface damage, and I've had numerous talks with Dr. Dazzle Dry. With Dr. Vivian Valenti. She's, by the way, a fantastic person to talk to. We've often talked about the surface damage that nail polishes can cause and why this is happening. So, long story short, she thinks possibly anything that bonds to the nail plate can potentially have effect or negative effect on the nail plate, right? Because when you have something bonded to the nail, sometimes when the nail is moving, it can pick up the cells of the nail. Eventually, over time, it can cause damage. Now, everybody's nails are different. Some people have more resilient nails, some people have less resilient nails. But overall, I did find Dazzle Dry to be way more gentle, and it causes the surface damage over time much less than any other brand. And I did a very cool test. I had one of my clients, Karen, she's a sweetheart for doing this. So what we did is we applied nail polish initially, another brand on one foot and nothing on the other. And we wanted to see if the nail polish caused surface damage. So yes, it did. It did yellow her nail plate eventually. So I think after maybe 3 applications, it was her pedicure. After 3 pedicures, after 3 months, we started seeing some surface damage and some yellowing of the nail plate. So after we finished that test, because that test was for something else, which I'm going to link in the description box. But after that, we switched to Dazzle Dry and we polished her nails for the whole summer or something like that it was. And guess what? The nail plate grew out completely, very nice and healthy. She had absolutely no surface damage from Dazzle Dry. And this is pretty consistent with a lot of my clients. When I'm doing pedicures, they don't have any yellowing whatsoever and they have way less surface damage. So definitely it's more gentle on the nails. Number 4, Dazzle Dry is long lasting. I find it's longer lasting than any other brands out there. And it depends on the natural nails, because you can think of a natural nail as a foundation. So someone who has very strong, thicker nail plates, they will wear any product much better. Dr. Vivian Valenti, actually, I think just recently I saw pictures of her nails. She had one of the blue colors or something, or light turquoise or something, for 4 weeks on her nails. Incredible. So I find that Dazzle Dry lasts on the hands, I say 1 to 2 weeks average, and then on the feet it lasts 3 to 4 weeks. I would say people don't really have any chipping or anything after 4 weeks, and by then people should really consider a pedicure, because by then the nails are grown out quite a bit. And for manicures, personally, for long-term nail health, I do recommend removing polish after about 6 days, giving the nails a break for 1 day, doing warm oil soak, doing any treatments if you want to, and then repolishing the next day. That's the best thing to prevent any type of surface damage, and I've been very successful with that method for quite a few clients. Number 5, Dazzle Dry has a pretty big line. I would say, I think they have 120 colors or something. It's quite big, so it's pretty extensive, so that's good. So there are a lot of choices for you out there. Number 6, I do find Dazzle Dry to be a very reputable brand. I think they're trustworthy. The brand is created by a chemist, like I mentioned, Dr. Vivian Valenti. She has a PhD in chemistry. She's been a chemist for over 30 years, and she has created a lot of professional products for nail professionals. The brand comes with a very good education. They usually send, when you are new to Dazzle Dry, they do a training with you. They offer training. The director of education, Silva, is a fantastic person, very, very knowledgeable. I learned directly from her when I first started using Dazzle Dry. So very, very good education, I would say, behind the brand. Number 7, I know it sounds very simple, but I think it's very important. They have very good brushes. So it is very important. It's just like makeup. It's very difficult to do a very good makeup if you don't have a proper brush, right? So same thing goes for nail polish. So they have those wide brushes, but they're quite wide but thin. So it's easy to get close to the skin without flooding, and very nice to use. Number 8, it's a hypoallergenic product. Now, hypoallergenic does not mean that no one on this planet is not going to be allergic to it. It just means that the product has ingredients that are less likely to cause allergic reactions in the majority of people. Number 9, the product is vegan. For vegans out there, that is a good thing to know, that the product is vegan. Although majority of brands out there are vegan, it's something usually in nail polishes. Polishes do not contain animal-based ingredients, so it's vegan, but it's good to know that it's vegan, that it's confirmed that it's vegan. Number 10, it's a good thing that Dazzle Dry has a thinner. Because it's such a quick drying product, you do have to thin it out, and you can thin it out, because a lot of other brands, believe it or not, they lose the quality of the product when you thin it out. So I usually, with other brands, I don't thin out the polishes for my clients, because they tend not to wear as well. I don't find that with Dazzle Dry. You can and you should thin it out when it starts getting thicker. So it's a good thing to have that product, and Dr. Valenti also confirms that the product does not lose the quality as you're thinning it out. You're just replacing the solvents that have evaporated. Okay, so these are the good things. Now onto the bad things. So this is now a long list of bad things.
Cue the bad music.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
So number 1, unfortunately, the product is available online only. Unfortunately, because of that, you can't see the colors, so it can be quite difficult to pick the right color. But I have pretty much all the colors swatched on our YouTube channel. So if you want to see how the colors look on the real nail, and I did extensive videos explaining what the colors are, how they apply, and everything else. So pretty much Until the recent collections, which we will get, I'm working on it, everything else is swatched. But that can be a deterrent for some people. Number two, it's expensive. So the price per bottle is $22 plus tax. It is a half an ounce. So comparing to other brands, I actually came up with a list. So API, for example, costs from $7 to $9, and it's the same size bottle. Essie, $8. Vinylux, $8. Kibi Shimmer, $12. So now when you have like the smaller brands, the products are usually a little bit more expensive because that's how it is. So they're kind of in between. They're in between salon brands, I would say, and the really high-end brands. So it is what it is. But again, a smaller company, it's going to be more expensive to manufacture. But the products and everything is made in the US, right? So that's a very, very good thing. And I mean, they're not a small business, but it's a small local business. So I'm not surprised. And for quality ingredients that are different, sometimes you have to pay more money, right? All right. Number 3, the thing that I noticed with the bottles is that sometimes the color, I call it that it fades in the bottle, but I don't think it fades. It just, someone explained it to me. I hope I'm correct, but the pigment likes to stick to the edge of the bottle. So the white pigment, I think it's titanium dioxide, I'm not sure. So some colors, they tend to have that almost like a white residue on the outside of the inside of the bottle. So you have to really mix it for this not to happen. I guess there are some ingredients that can make them more stable, but those ingredients are sometimes let's just call it questionable. So brands that are much more into the healthier alternatives, let's just say, they like to avoid certain ingredients. So probably that's why the pigment sticks to the outside of the bottle. So you should be mixing it every week. Although, like in my situation, it's a little bit impossible because I have probably 100 bottles. And you have to mix it for a long time in order to really mix the product, because once you let it sit for too long, it's really difficult. You have to put it in a shaker and then you have to roll it, and it's a bit of a problem. So anyway, so they look a little bit sometimes not very pretty in a bottle when people are looking at the display. What I would suggest doing in a salon, I suggest painting the little nails with all the colors, but I find that those fade as well sometimes over time after a year. So number 4, I find that the bright colors and the pink colors sometimes can fade. Dazzle Dry mentions that on their website, that the bright colors can fade, but some people are still very unhappy with that fact because they hope for a little bit longer wear where the color stays stable, but it doesn't. So I personally find that to be a bit of a pain, because those bright colors are usually very popular in the summer, and especially with the sun, with the chlorine, sometimes swimming pools and things like that, they can really fade quite a bit. I personally just don't use many of them. Number 5, I have experienced on some people some yellowing. The interesting thing is that what yellows is the top coat, and it's not yellowing as much as it's staining probably. So it just looks like, honestly, it looks like smoker's nails. It looks ugly. But the interesting part is that I've tried sometimes different brands on clients because they were quite unhappy. It happened on a manicure for a couple clients. It happens to one of my clients on her pedicures when they're wearing light colors, like for example Boss, Alluring Charm. But what happens is it's the top coat, because once you put a polish remover on the top of the polish and then you just slightly wipe it, you'll see that underneath you have perfectly bright nail polish. What's yellow, it's the actual top coat. So I don't know if it's yellows or if it's stains. There can be few things that can contribute to that. For example, I guess it's the breakdown of the top coat. So if people are, for example, cleaning their hand with alcohol, or if they're using any hairsprays or anything like that, that can break down the top layer of the top coat. So then anything that they are exposing their hands to can stick to the top of the surface of the nail polish, and it can stain it. But I've seen it on the feet too, so I don't know, in the summer. So that client was not very happy with her stained nails, and she chose to were red, that one was perfectly fine. So I don't know. But that can happen, and I guess it's good to know that. It doesn't happen with everyone, absolutely not, but it can happen. I also tried something that we should not try, but I tried it because I was desperate. So I did the Dazzle Dry full system. It dried, and I put another top coat on top of it. It's still stained. So the other top coat stained as well for that client. So it could be something to do, I don't know, I have no idea. Just sharing that experience with you guys. All right, so number 6. I do find, and some people find, personally I really don't find it that troublesome, but some people find that the line has too many steps, meaning, because on the hands you're supposed to do 2 layers of base coat, and then the polish, and then the top coat. I do find for people with very strong nails, one coat of base coat is enough. But for people that have a little bit weaker nails, problem nails, they do much better with 2 layers of the base coat. And what the base coat does, the base coat apparently it's flexible, so it can flex with the nail without chipping. That's how it works. I did find the ridge filler to be a lot of work, I'll be honest. And I've tried using the ridge filler, it's called Transform, on a few clients to test it out. And I asked my clients if they really feel that they see a difference, because I did one hand the normal process and one hand with the ridge filler. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of majority of my clients said, no, I'm fine with the way the 2 layers of base coat are without the ridge filler. But then again, I know a lot of people online, a lot of people shared with me that they use the Transform, they don't mind the drying time and the multiple steps, because it adds about 10 minutes to the manicure, right? So they don't mind the multiple steps, and they are very happy with the system. So for some people, it's not a big deal. But I'll show you a couple pictures, and you'll see. Well, I'm curious if you see if there was any difference between these nails. So on this hand, I did just the 2 layers of base coat and 2 coats of color and a top coat. This is 2 weeks of wear, so that's pretty good. But the other hand, so sometimes, Dazzle Dry advertises that it's like a gel-like wear and it's very smooth. The surface is a little bit smoother, but after 2 weeks, I don't see a huge difference. And for me in a salon, adding that additional 10 minutes to the manicure, and the additional cost, obviously, because the product costs money plus the time costs money, it just, to me, it was not worth it. But I mean, other people have different experiences. I'm very curious to hear what you think about it, because with the Transform, you're supposed to use 2 layers of base coat, Transform, which is the ridge filler, another layer of base coat, so now you're at 4 layers, and then 2 layers of polish on the top coat. That's a lot of layers. That leads us to number 7. Another thing that I've noticed with Dazzle Dry is that because it dries so quickly, and obviously, I guess, it's because it has a different film forming ingredient, it does not have nitrocellulose. When the coats dry, and you see that they dry to a matte finish, by the time pretty much you're finished with the 10 nails, the first nail is usually dry when you apply it properly. But it dries to a very, very thin film. It looks like you only have, like after 1 coat, it almost looks like you have just the pigments left behind on the nail. Like, it doesn't look like it has that smooth, shiny layer. So with the second coat, that has a little bit maybe more coverage, and then the top coat will give you the shine. But still, when it's fully dried, like the next day or 2 days later, you see it. So if you have ridges, for example, or if you have damaged nails or scratches on your nails or anything like that, it will show much more than other nail polishes. I find it does. But funny enough, a lot of my clients didn't mind. Again, going back to even the Transform, I asked if they wanted something else, an additional product to cover the ridges, and they're like, no, it's fine. I don't really care. So it's a very personal thing, right? Number 8, even when used correctly, over time, it tends to dull. So as you can see, going back to this picture, 2 weeks later, although it's a very impressive wear, I can't lie. By the way, Speaking of transform, very quickly, can you see here, there was a bit of a shrinking. I did find that happening sometimes with transform. I usually don't have that happen unless the top coat is way too thick. That does not happen with the regular application. So as you can see, there is just lack of shine, and that's, I would say, kind of pretty consistent. Here, this client, this is after 1 week of wear. Not a blinding shine, I would say, right? You can put another top coat on top of Dazzle Dry, but what you would have to do is you have to wipe the nails with prep, you have to put a base coat, and then a top coat, because the top coat itself is not going to bond to the nail polish. So again, it's a bit of a process. Number 9, for majority of my clients that have normal nails, it wears without chipping, like I mentioned, for 1 to 2 weeks on the hands, for 3 to 4 weeks on the feet. But, so it doesn't necessarily chip, but it does wear. I find sometimes a little bit sooner than other brands. Even though you wrap the free edge, it still tends to wear a little bit. So it's almost like it's a bit of a softer product or something. As you can see on this picture here, so this is 1 week later, right? You can see that there is a bit of a wear. And again, now this can bother some people, and for some people, it can be not a big deal. And again, I'm very curious what you guys think about it, if that's something that would bother you or not. Number 10, because the polish dries so fast, obviously the solvents evaporate very, very fast. And I find that the polish thickens in a bottle quite a bit. But the good thing is that it does come with the thinner, so you can thin it out. And I do find I don't let the polish get very, very thick, because then almost it's impossible to bring it back to a regular proper thinness, I guess. So what you want to do is, when you use it a few times and when you start seeing that it's a little bit thicker, then right away add the drops. Don't let it go completely thick and then try to add half a bottle of the thinner, right? Same goes with the top coat. The top coat needs to be thinned out as well, but you don't have to thin out the base coat. The base coat does not need any thinning, but the top coat, you want to make sure that you have it at the right consistency. Sometimes it's good to get additional bottles. For example, I always have the extra bottle, and just kind of see how the consistency is. And you want to restore the top coat that you're using to that consistency, because when the top coat is thicker, it might shrink more. Number 12, the base coat, it's a little complicated. So the line is a little bit complicated, a little different. So you have to kind of learn it. And everybody usually thinks, oh my, I know how to polish nails, so I don't have to learn it. You need to learn the system. So the base coat needs to be warmed up. You have to remember that, because when the base coat is colder, so when the temperature drops below 70 Fahrenheit, and I don't know what it is, 21 or something Celsius, it becomes a little bit cloudy and it's a little bit more jelly. So you want to make sure that before you do your manicure, so as you're doing your manicure, not a big deal, just stand it in a really warm water, and that's it, not a big deal. But you know, that's a little bit different. You have to remember about that. Okay, so number 12, the other one was number 11. It's available in the US only. So I know guys, I have a lot of people from UK, a lot of people from here, from Europe, and even Canada are very disappointed because they can't purchase the product. If they even can, the shipping is very, very expensive. And even to Canada, shipping is about $50. So because shipping nail polish is very expensive and it has to be shipped properly and blah, blah, blah. So it's very expensive. So that's, but I mean, how can you blame the company that they're only available in the US? So when it comes to smaller companies, it's difficult. It's difficult to grow. And some companies maybe decide not to grow, because every time you grow, you have to invest more and more. You have to, purchase or rent a bigger manufacturing facility and all that, and it costs more money, and you're putting more and more money into the company, right? So it's difficult. It's difficult on the smaller companies to grow that way. So some companies try to stay maybe local, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. So I understand. Number 13, unlucky number, but it's not so bad. So the consistency I found with Dazzle Dry to be a little bit more difficult to work with, and there was a bit of a learning curve. So don't give up. If you pick up the product and you feel that it's like a little weird to work with, don't give up, because you will learn to work with it. Absolutely. It's not that different. It's just me as a person that used a lot of different nail polishes, I did find it a little bit different. I can't even describe what it is. Maybe a little bit more watery. There's just something slightly different consistency. I don't notice it now, but I do notice sometimes when I'm using other brands that it's just easier to apply it, which is nice, because then, you know, if you learn Dazzle Dry and you can apply it very well, then it's going to be a breeze to apply another brand. So don't give up. By the way, I'm going to give you a quick little story. So initially, the first time I purchased Dazzle Dry was probably like 13 years ago. Probably that was around the time where Dazzle Dry was first put on the market. And because I've read about it somewhere on a beauty tech probably, so of course I had to buy it. I was back then living in Canada. So believe it or not, I ordered the product, the company didn't ship to Canada. So I'm a crazy person. I got the product shipped to Buffalo, New York, and to my friend Tammy. And I drove to New York from Toronto for a few bottles of nail polish. I still remember that. We went to a casino at the time, no? So, but the funny story is, and there was a moral to the story, is that I went back to the salon, I used the brand a few times, and it was terrible. Like, I didn't like it. I'm like, I spent so much money, drove all the way to New York to pick up this nail polish, and I didn't like it. So what happened was that, of course I didn't read the instructions, right? Because, you know, like I know how to polish nails. So I guess I didn't read the instructions, and I didn't warm up the base coat properly. So the product just peeled off in one piece. It dried very quickly, but I remember I'm like, I wore it on my toes or something, and I found it a little bit difficult to apply. So then years later, it was like exactly probably 10 years later, I started seeing more and more Dazzle Dry on Instagram, and from quite a few really good accounts. And I'm like, okay, now I have to try it again. And I think I looked for the product. I didn't have it anymore. And by the way, I threw out the base coat because I went like, oh my God, it went so thick. And I threw it out. So I looked for the product, I didn't have it anymore, so I ordered it again, spent a whole bunch of money again, but then I got the education with Silva. Again, she's an amazing person and very good professional, beautiful person, and from that time, my work with the Dazzle Dry was much more successful. So I highly suggest not giving up. Even if you have problems, just learn, even reach out to me. I'll try to troubleshoot if you're having any issues, because I have a lot of experience with it. Number 14, the last one. So number 14, no fancy colors, I wrote down. A lot of people like some interesting colors. So some holos, some chromes, some glitters, some flakies, and all stuff like that. And Dazzle Dry is pretty, I mean, there are some glitters, there are some beautiful, like blue blood, and there are some beautiful, beautiful colors, and I'll show you a couple of them. But in general, it's a pretty kind of a conservative line, right? But the funny thing is, in my salon, I don't use any of those sparkly colors. I maybe have a couple clients that sometimes put like a sparkle on top of like a color, but other than that, again, I'm going to leave a list below of the 6 probably colors that I use all the time, 6 or 7. And these are very, very conservative colors, and that's what my clients like, and I'm happy with that. So it's funny because I find a lot of people that do their own nails, they like these sparkly, shimmery colors, but in the salon, I find I don't use them at all. So I use very conservative colors. So, I mean, if you're a salon professional, if you're a nail professional, maybe your area might be different. But I find my clients are very happy with a very even limited amount of colors. So if you're interested in that list, I'm going to have a list of those colors below and quick explanation what they are. Okay, so what is the takeaway from all of this? From my perspective, as a nail professional that has a manicure pedicure studio, it is a absolutely wonderful product because nothing can beat, and my clients absolutely love that fact, that they can walk out with the dry toenails and they don't have to apply gel polish, so they can take it off themselves. This is a huge selling point and it's absolutely great and I love it. There is nothing else like this on the market. I think it's worth the money. I would pay, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, but like triple the amount of shipping. It's worth it, absolutely. But for example, for me, it's worth it. For people that really don't have the time to dry their nails and really don't hate yellow nails, fantastic, right? For people that, for example, let's say if you're a person that once in the blue moon, you polish your nails, like let's say red for one occasion and generally you're not into nails, I don't know, maybe that's not a product for you, because for that, I would not invest in such an expensive system. Your nails are not going to yellow if you have, you know, after 1 or 2 applications. If you have time to dry your nails, then you might not need such an expensive system. So again, pros and cons to each system. I just really wanted you guys to, again, I love it, but I wanted you to have full knowledge on all the pros and cons that I experience along the way, right? Let me know what you think. I'm really, really curious what you guys think. Please share your experiences with me in a comment section below. If you have any questions, DM me or message me, email me, thesoulonlife@gmail.com. We're happy to answer. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. See you soon. Bye. Hi, guys. Just a little bonus. So I posted this video on Patreon, and one of our Patreon subscribers wrote this, and she actually made a couple of very good points. So she said, pros, no lamp or special tools needed. Which is true. I didn't mention that. Removes just with the remover, just a regular nail polish. Very, very true. And you can buy some colors in a mini size. Very good point. The mini sizes are a good idea. And by the way, I forgot to mention that the formula of the polishes is actually very, very good. They have excellent, excellent yellows. Yellow colors usually are very difficult to apply. They're very, very tricky. Dazzle Dry has really good yellows. And cons, she says, a lot of the colors I've seen swatched are discontinued. It's true, they discontinued, well, that's what happens, right, in the line. So a lot of them are discontinued. Not everything comes in a mini. You can only get that mini in a flight, so in like a little kit, and you'd end up with duplicates if you already bought some of the minis in the kit. And also she says you can't, or at least you aren't supposed to, use a regular polish with the Dazzle Dry base and top coat. And she says, I understand why behind this, but a lot of home polishers, this is a con when you already have several hundred bottles of polish, especially fun indie brands. And you know what? You can actually. I don't think anything would happen if you use the base coat or the top coat with another line. I know that the polish sometimes doesn't go on but well on different base coats, but you can use the, I know you shouldn't, but you could use the base coat in the top coat. But the important thing is, why would you waste your money? Because it is an expensive polish, because you're not gonna get the benefits of the full line, because you need the actual polish in order to get the quick drying and the no staining. So I don't know why you would use the base coat and top coat. The top coat is not going to dry the nail polish in 5 minutes for sure. And the base coat is not going to prevent the staining, because the staining, the nitrocellulose from the color coat is going to seep through. Vivian Valente explains that in the article that I link below, please read it. So what she says is that the nitrocellulose breaks down eventually into nitric acid. And nitric acid has a very, very small molecule, so it penetrates the base coat. So even if you use the base coat to try to prevent the nails from staining, it's not going to, the base coat is not going to help with that. Oh my God, guys, I'm not gonna...
It never ends.
It never ends. I'm not gonna finish this video. Anyway, so I just noticed there was another Patreon subscriber that made a couple of very good points. So I just wanted to share what she said. Jenny says, Dazzle Dry adheres to my peeling nails. I have tried all your nail recovery steps, yet I still have peeling, splitting nails. I think my peeling nails are genetic thyroid related, so all the oiling in the world cannot fix them. And her toenails are bad too, so something else is going on. So she says, I occasionally even have a split crack, and Dazzle Dry will adhere and cover that for the duration of the polish. Dazzle Dry is a miracle for people like me. I get up to 2 weeks out of I get up to 2 weeks of Dazzle Dry manicure using Transform and PB, peanut butter.
Peanut butter?
And following the steps faithfully. Prior to Dazzle Dry, I got 1 to 2 days out of a manicure. Anyway, I also would like to add they have a lot of sample sizes, like Jill mentioned, and they try to show videos of the nail polish going on the nail to help us decide colors. Some of your videos, I think, Anna, yes. They should always do that, I agree. Also, I do not personally agree with number 7 on the cons. I think adding the Transform makes a difference. Nothing has given her 1 or even 2 weeks adherence, given my past experience. I am only sorry that it's not available outside of US for everyone to enjoy. Very good points. Thank you so much, Jenny, for writing this information. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.